Hello, everyone.
Hey,
Welcome back to the June edition of Show Me Mysteries. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the 1973 Pascal, Pas, Pascagoula, Pascagoula, Mississippi incident, which is a UFO abduction, and it's one of three that has never been debunked or disproven. So, along with Betty and Barney Hill, I don't know how many of you are familiar with that story. They were up, I think, in New Jersey. We will do a ghostly gab um, about them at some point. And then, of course, everybody knows about Travis Walton in Arizona, the logger that got like beamed up, and he was found in a gas station payphone booth naked. Anyway, this is one of three um, UFO abduction incidents that has never been disproven or debunked, even though people have tried and tried over the years.
yeah, we'll try that on a future Show Me Mysteries.
Yeah, we'll try to debunk it. And if you all have a thought about it, please. Um,
Hey, Linda. Hey, Bev.
hey, girls, I appreciate everyone logging in tonight and joining us on a Wednesday night. I think we're probably going to keep it on Wednesday. That seemed to work okay for everybody. If you have friends, neighbors, coworkers you think might enjoy talking about a UFO abduction case, please share it out or um, send them a little message, tell them to log on. We are simulcasting to Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook, so they can find us anywhere. I want to
Woo-hoo,
say,
look at us.
oh, you'd almost think we knew what we were doing, don't you? So, um, I want to say thank you to our military, like I always do, or we always do. Without you all, we could not do what we do. The same thing, our men and women in blue. We know you all have it rough right now, but do know that there are plenty of folks who support you. I also want to remind everyone that tomorrow is the 80th anniversary of D-Day. So please fly your flag, salute a veteran when you see one. There's only 150 veterans left from D-Day. They're having a big ceremony over in France tomorrow, and I saw some news reports that some of the veterans are on hospice, and their last wish was to go there, so they're being taken there. They may not return, but they will at least get to see it one more time. The other thing I want to say about our military, I was watching something the other day that caught my eye, and it reminded me of how we as civilians have no idea what our military has to go through. So, and I might tear up on this. So I was watching this little short, and it was about this guy who had a dog, right, a canine with him, and of course Chuck was also a canine handler in the military, so he went through this too. But it's been so many years that you forget this thing. But here these guys are in all this gear with all these packs on and all this stuff around their waist. And I know Jennifer, my daughter, she was in the Air Force. Her pack weighed 80 pounds. She was only 120 pounds. So I thought to myself when I was watching this the other day, I thought, my heavens, I can't even carry a Walmart bag from my car to my door. And these folks are carrying all this weight with them. It's amazing. Anyway, we couldn't do it. I'm so glad you can. All right, let's talk about what we've done, what we did in May, just briefly. We went to the Twin City Opera House in McConnellsville, Ohio. Bev and Linda attended along with Don and Christy. We had a fabulous time. Beautiful, beautiful old opera house. I cannot remember when it was built. It was late 1800s. And we had more equipment go off that night than we've ever had in all the years I've been doing this. We had the flashlights going off, which we typically don't do. But our guide that was there with us, Sam, he said, let me just lay these flashlights around because they seem to like those. We had a lot of interaction with that. We had a lot of interaction with the REM pods, with the cat balls, with just everything. It was amazing. I'm still looking through the audio and visual stuff on that. But anyway, I don't know if we caught anything, but we sure had a fine time. Oh, and Wendy and Kayla, that's true, Bev. I forgot about them. How could I forget about them? And we had a fabulous dinner right across the street. I cannot remember the little restaurant, but it's a bar and grill. The food was fabulous. Linda or Bev, if you remember what it was, throw it in the chat there. If you guys are ever in the middle of Ohio at McConnellsville, take a look at the Opera House and have lunch wherever we had dinner. Okay. Am I forgetting anything as we move along here, Michelle? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think we're good.
We're good. Okay. So if you are just joining us this evening again, we are talking about the Pascagoula, Mississippi incident of 1973. And I might be butchering the name.
Hey, Becky.
But it was October of 1973.
11th.
October 11th. You got these two fellas, and I'm going to throw up a picture of these fellas here. You got these two fellas that are just minding their own business, sitting on the dock. You got Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are co-workers. And I think Charles Hickson was 42. Calvin Parker's, he's only 19. Anyway, they worked together and they decided to go fishing. And wherever they were fishing originally that night, the fish were not biting. So Charles says, hey, I know this place where the fish really bite. It's at the abandoned shipyard. There's a little pier there, and we can catch some fish. Because apparently the fishing was really good there. He'd been there before. So they go over and they start fishing, minding their own business. And the way they told the story was that they saw some blue lights reflecting on the water. And they initially thought it was the police. They thought the police had pulled up and were going to kind of tell them to get off the pier. You know, they're on private property, yada, yada, yada. You took down their picture.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. Was that too soon? My bad. There you go.
Put them back up there. Put them back up
there. There we go.
Yeah. Anyway, they were, they thought it was the police. But when they looked up, they noticed there was some kind of a craft with blinding lights. They said it was shaped like a football and it was making a low hissing or humming sound. Now, then, of course, they were abducted. Almost immediately, Calvin passed out. He became so frightened, he passed out. Charles says he was awake during the whole time. And they were, these little alien folks came out of the craft. They had pinchers for hands. And when they touched Calvin, that's when he passed out. But anyway, they get Calvin and Charles and they just kind of elevate them up into this craft where they examine them. Then when they're all finished, they put them back down on the dock. And Calvin is beside himself. Of course, you know, he's only whatever he is. He's 19 years old. Yeah, 19 years old or whatever. So he's beside himself. Charles finally gets him, he says, to come to his senses. And they decide, Charles says, hey, nobody's going to ever believe this, so we're not going to tell anybody. So they went home. Charles had a drink to calm his nerves because, you know, they're in Mississippi. That's what we do. He had a drink to kind of calm his nerves. And the more he thought about it and talked to his wife, the more he realized that they had to report this, whether anybody believed him or not. So he contacted Calvin. Calvin didn't want to come forward. But Charles, he's older. He convinced him. So they first called Kessler Air Force Base to see if they had anything in the sky or they were doing anything, which frankly I think was a good call. When the Air Force Base said, no, it wasn't us, if this happened, you need to call the sheriff. Then they went to the Jackson County Sheriff and told their story. And I have, and I'm gonna take some time to read this to you all, which I typically don't like read anything to you, but I think this is important. They went to the sheriff. The sheriff tape recorded, put them in 2 different rooms, tape recorded the interviews. Now I have the transcript of the interview from Charles Hickson. I don't have Calvin Parker's, but that's the transcript that I kind of want to read to you, because I think it really drives home the fact that I think this really happened. And if this didn't happen, something did happen to these two. Anyway, Jackson County Sheriff had them take a sobriety test, which they passed. They took lie detector tests, which they passed. They called in Alan Hynek, which you might remember from Project Blue Book, right? He came down to investigate it. Now, Charles Hickson, throughout the years, he has spoken publicly about it. He wrote a book, I think he self-published a book, I think in 1983. He would speak at conventions. He would talk to people about it. And then in 1993, he started a company to produce documentaries and films about UFO encounters. He died in September 2011. Now, Parker, Michelle, you want to throw that code up there if you can get it?
Okay, I was trying to make sure that was the right code. My bad. I'm slacking. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Calvin Parker.
There we go.
I've got this up there in case you want to purchase his book. I made it easy for you. You just got to scan the code. So Calvin Parker, he never spoke about what happened to him until 2018. In 2018, he went to the funeral of a friend, and he noticed that he was the center of attention. Instead of the deceased friend, he was. So when he left there, his wife said, "You have got to write a book and tell people what happened and just put it out there." Now, the man had not spoken about it for 45 years, which kudos to him. Anyway, he wrote this book. I don't have it, but I did order it because I want to read his story. And Calvin passed away in August of 2023.
Yes.
So that's what I know the gist of the incident is. Like I said, I want to share the transcript with you, but I think, Michelle, you came across a woman that supposedly witnessed
Yeah. This. So when I was trying to do some of the research, so Marcia doesn't carry the whole show, and I learned something new. They're actually throughout the entire, from 73 on, at least it seems that way, News Channel 13, WLOX, covered several different events through about this happening. And I'm trying to see, in 2019, it was 45 years after the original abduction. A witness came forward.
So that was about the time that he wrote his book.
Yes. So it was I don't know if
I
that had
wonder if
anything to do with it?
they're connected. I wonder if she read the book and then decided she saw this. My bad. Continue.
It's okay. Well, she had said, and what is her name? Oh, I had it written up. Maria Blair. She was actually on the other side of the river from them, and she was waiting for him to, I don't know, head out on a boat or what have you. But she saw the same lights, or at least she's telling everybody that she has saw the same lights that Charles and Calvin did. And it was at that time that it was the first time she told her story. She described the temperature and what the weather was like, what was going on, and yeah, she talked about the same strange blue light, but she said it was streaking back and forth, not just hovering in one spot. Um, and she said where I saw it come up, the blue light was just right over where they were abducted. At the time, she said she thought it was a helicopter. But she said it continued moving without any noticeable sound for about 30 minutes and then was gone. The interesting thing here, and I'll share this with Marcia or put it on the webpage. They actually made pictures or drawings of what these beings looked like. But back to what she said she heard this loud water, like something fell into it, and a loud splash. And that's when she said it looked like there was a person in the water. She said she still doesn't know what that was, but felt it was important to talk about it. And she didn't think anything about it until she heard about Parker and Hickson going to the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. But I want to say at some point, she actually did meet up with Calvin Parker during this interview, and they have them together there. But that was the first time she had actually met him face to face, was during this interview. But that's really all it was. But I found it interesting that she waited so long for that to come out, and maybe it is coinciding with his book release.
So, what do you all think? That seems awfully fishy to me. I mean, he didn't talk about it for 45 years, but he did report it that night, right? 3 or 4 hours, because apparently it happened at 6 o'clock at night. They were in the sheriff's office by 11 that evening. So
Yeah.
you're only talking a few hours when they went home and had a drink and decided they weren't going to talk about it, and then decided they were going to talk about it. And then you've got a woman who doesn't say anything to anybody for 45 years. It's not passing the old smell test to me, especially when she comes out the same time his book comes out.
Yeah.
And apparently, according to what he has said about the book, all his interviews are in there. The transcripts of his police interview are in there. All the news articles, all of that stuff is in the book, because he wanted to say it once, get it all out there, and be done with it. So yeah, I think it's a little bit fishy. Okay, let me
That 15 minutes of fame.
yeah, I think you're exactly right, Linda. Now, we could be completely wrong. But it just doesn't pass the old smell test to me. Now, I want to, if I can figure out how to do this, I want to read to you all the transcript from Charles's interview. And I'm going to read it exactly the way it's written, because you can tell he's Cajun. That's the first thing. You can tell Charles was a Cajun. So I'm not going to clean it up. I'm just going to say what he said. And as you guys are listening to this, I want you to think about whether this man sounds like he had an encounter or he didn't. Especially when we get to the part where the police officers leave the room, put Calvin and Charles together and keep the recorder running that they are unaware of. And they're talking to each other. Okay. Okay, so the tape begins with Charles saying, "Even though I'll be the laughing stock of the country, I'll tell what I seen and the experience I had." What did you say your name was? Charles Hickson, Hickson. Even though they laughed me out of Jackson County, I'll do what I know is right. That's all I can do. And I don't expect nobody to believe it. It's just unbelievable. We just want to make sure to hear your story. That's what convinced us. Okay, okay. Me and Calvin, this boy, he works with me. We went down the grain elevator along the river. We caught a few hardheads down there, a couple of croakers, not much. So I said to Calvin, "Son, let's go up by the old shipyard. I've caught redfish in there and speckled trout." "Is he your son?" "No, no, he's just a friend. He's from Jones County. That's where I'm reared from. I've got a farm and a home up there." Well, so we went over there to try a little while. We sat there fishing. I don't know how. I guess must have seen the thing the same time. It's a blue light. It circled a bit. How high was it? You couldn't hardly tell. It wasn't too close, but it wasn't no 2 or 3 miles away. It was pretty close. And a blue light. You're sure surprised when you look in the sky and you see a blue light. It really calls your attention to it. Then in just a little while, it come right down above the bayou, about 2 or 3 feet above the ground. How close was it? 25, 30 yards, but it might have been 35 or 40 yards. You see something like that and it scares you to death. I couldn't hardly believe it. I started to head for the river. Was there a noise to it? A little buzzing sound, that's all. Wasn't any backblast or anything. And you think you're dreaming about something like. And I started to hit the river, man. And Calvin, well, he just went hysterical. What's Calvin's last name? It's Parker, Calvin Parker Jr. He's got his father's name. So we was right on the river. It didn't hit the ground, it hovered. And all of a sudden, right in the end of it, this opening laid up there, and 3 of them just floated out of the thing. They wasn't on no ground. They didn't have feet? No, they didn't have toes, but they had feet shape. It was more or less just a round like thing on a leg, if you want to call it a leg. I was scared to death. And me with a spinning reel out there, that's all I had. I couldn't, I was scared. You can't imagine. Calvin done went hysterical on me. Then what happened? Did they walk up on you? No, they just glided up there to me. Then one of them made a little buzzing noise, and 2 of them never made no noise. What kind of noise? Just a buzzing noise. Did it sound like a machine? Yeah, like that. It might have been contacting the others. See, I don't know. But then I was so damn scared, I don't know nothing. And 2 of them just floated around behind me and lifted me off the ground. By your arms? By my arms, with their pincher things. They must have done something. I just raised off the ground. They didn't use force, though. No, no force. They didn't hurt me. I didn't feel nothing. How was your buddy doing then? Well, he just passed out on me, and they glided me into that thing. You know how you just glide somebody? All of us moved like we were floating through the air. When I got in there, they had me, they just kind of had me there. There weren't no seats, no chain. They just moved me around. I couldn't resist them. I just floated. I felt no sensation, no pain. They kept me in that position a little while. Then they'd raise me back up. You said they had some kind of instrument, didn't you? Some kind of instrument. I don't know what it was. I didn't see anything that I could call an instrument that I've ever seen before. What did it look like? Can you describe it? I just couldn't describe it. Was it like an X-ray machine? No, it wasn't like no X-ray. There ain't no way to describe it. It looked like an eye, like a big eye. It had some kind of an attachment to it. It moved. It looked like a big eye. It went all over my body, up and down, and then they left me. They left you inside the machine, left me right by myself. And the position they had me in, well, I couldn't move. Just my eyes could move. And I don't know how long they left me. I don't know if I stayed conscious, but I think I did. And then they came back. How long did they leave you? I don't know. I never wear no watch. How long would you say? I'd say 20 to 30 minutes. Then when they came back, they laid me back over again. You didn't try to talk to them to ask them what was going on? Yes, I did, but I'd get a buzzing sound out of one of them. That's all. They didn't pay me no attention, my talking or anything. How many eyes did they have? There could have been eyes, but I didn't see any. But there was something that came straight out, more or less where a nose would be on a human being's face. Did they have any hair? I don't know. I just swear I don't know. That's blank in my mind. You looked at them, didn't you? Did they breathe? I don't know. How tall were they? They were about 5 feet tall. They didn't have no clothes on or nothing? Not so's I noticed. And you can't tell me what color they was. Man, you scared as I was. Was they white looking? Were they pale, blue, green? Best I remember, they looked pale to me. Wrinkled skin? It might have been. It looked kind of like a skin fit. They might have had something on. They might not have. I don't know. You say below the nose there was an opening. Yeah, like a slit, and I never saw that opening move. And they had something on each side of their head that resembled ears, but they don't look like ears that we know. And the head, I didn't see any neck. It looked like it just sit there on the body. Was this right after dark? It wasn't too long after dark. Well, why are you waiting all this time of night to call us? Well, Mr. Fred, when I got out of there, I knowed nobody would believe me. I went by the Mississippi Press and beat on the door. This colored guy was sitting at the desk. I said I wanted to see a reporter, and he said there wouldn't be no reporter till morning. I thought about it again. If I call the sheriff's department, they won't believe me. If I call the police department, they won't believe me. Well, how would you know unless you tried? Well, I apologize for that. That was my thinking. How much did you have to drink? I hadn't drank anything, but in the 45 minutes to an hour before I called you, I did have a drink. I had to settle my nerves. I just about went crazy. And I got to get back and let my wife know. She's probably hysterical now. Your wife's all right. Do you remember leaving? Leaving where? The ship where they put you out. The only thing I remember is that kid Calvin just standing there. I never seen that sort of fear on a man's face as I saw on Calvin's. It took me a while to get him back to his senses, and the first thing I said to him was, son, ain't nobody going to believe this. Let's just keep this whole thing to ourselves. Well, the more I thought about it, the more I thought I had to let some officials know. What did they do after they let you go? There was a buzzing sound, and it was gone. Can you describe the vehicle? Yes. It was about 8 feet tall. It wasn't round. It was oblong, sort of oblong, and the opening it had was at one end of it. The only lights I seen on the outside was that blue light. Inside, what lights did they have? I didn't see no bulbs or nothing. It just glowed, but it was real bright. Then the transcript, there's a note here. It says the Sheriff Diamond, which is who he was talking to, asked Charlie to come back in the morning to make a complete statement. Then Diamond and Captain Ryder went out and brought Calvin in and left the two men alone with the tape recorder still running. Okay. So this is what's going on between Calvin and Charles, right? So Charlie says to Calvin, I can't take much more of that. Calvin, I got to get home and get to bed or get some nerve pills or something. I can't stand it. I'm about to go half crazy. Charlie, I tell you, when we're through, I'll get you something to settle you down so you can get some damn sleep. Calvin, I can't sleep yet like it is. I'm damn near crazy. Charlie, well, Calvin, when they brought you out, when they brought me out of that goddamn thing, I like to never in the hell got you straightened out. Calvin said, my damn arms, my arms. I remember they just froze up and I couldn't move, just like I stepped on a damn rattlesnake. Charlie, they didn't do me that way. Calvin, I passed out. I expect I never passed out in my whole life. Charlie, I've never seen nothing like that before in my life. You can't make people believe. Calvin, I don't want to keep sitting here. I want to see a doctor. Charlie, they better wake up and start believing. They better start believing. Calvin, you see how that damn door came right up? Charlie, I don't know how it opened, son. I don't know. Calvin, it just laid up, and just like those sons of bitches, just like they all came out. Charlie, I know. You can't believe it. You can't make people believe it. Calvin, I paralyzed right then. I couldn't move. Charlie, they won't believe it. They're going to believe it one of these days. It might be too late. I knew all along they was people from other worlds up there. I knew all along. I never thought it could happen to me. Calvin, you know yourself I don't drink. Charlie, I know that, son. When I get to the house, I'm going to get me another drink, make me sleep. Look, what we sitting around for? I got to go tell Blanche. What are we waiting for? Calvin, I got to go to the house. I'm getting sick. I got to get out of here. Then Charlie got up and left the room, and Calvin was alone. What he said on the tape was, it's hard to believe. Oh God, it's awful. I know there's a God up there. Then he prayed, but it was inaudible. And that was the end of the tape. So, what do
I
you
think
all
the
think?
conversation between Charlie and Calvin makes it more believable than the conversation that Charles had with the sheriff's officer.
I agree with you. Well, I believed it anyway. And I don't know why I believed it, but I believed their story to begin with. But then when I got this transcript, and just like you said, when they're talking between the two of them, they're not talking about making something up. They're not talking about pulling the wool over somebody. They're talking about they saw something happened. They don't know what it is. Calvin is obviously not Calvin. Yeah, Calvin, the younger of the two, is obviously distraught, but again, he's 19 years old. Charlie just wants a beer
Or something.
or something. He wants him a drink, and he wants to tell Blanche. Blanche is his wife, or he wants to get home to Blanche. So, what do you all in the chat think? Do you think this is a believable story? Do you think something may have happened to these fellas? Because Dr. Hynek did investigate it. They also brought another guy, let me see where he came from, to investigate it as well. Dr. Harder came from Berkeley University. And Charles, he said, all we meant to do was go fishing. That's all they wanted to do was go fishing. So I believe him. And like I said, this one has never been debunked. Just like Betty and Barney Hill, Travis Walton. This gal coming out 45 years later, at the same time the book came out. Maybe she thinks she's helping it. Maybe she wants her 15 minutes of fame, I think, like Linda said. I don't know. I am going to throw the QR code up for his book again, just for a minute. The small one that I had up on the screen does not go to the book. Oops. That's why I pulled my phone up, just because the code looked odd, and I thought, I need to double check that.
Stagecraft from the military, Becky.
So I want to leave this up there for a second for any of you that might want to.
I don't know about that, because if they called the military base that was close by, and of course the military is going to deny it, but what would stop them from sending someone out to kind of, hey, send the men in black or whoever you want to talk about to them? And that has never come up. I haven't seen that in anything that we had come across. Did you, Marcia?
No, I didn't see any men in black or anything like that. And like I said, Calvin, he never spoke about it for 45 years. So I don't know. Now, I will tell you this, though, and I think, Becky, this might be where you're coming from. if any of you follow, if any of you follow Stephen Greer, he has had a ton of folks. He has interviewed a ton of folks who has seen these crafts, and they have all said the same thing, that if the craft makes no noise, it's from another universe. If it makes a noise, it's something man-made. Well, this one, both of the men said it made a humming noise. So could it have been a black ops military that is abducting people? Because that's also the theory. Let's go down the conspiracy rabbit hole. That's also a theory, that the military, we've got these crafts, we've got this technology, and our own people go out and abduct people, and they're dressed like aliens because they're trying to scare the population, right? They don't want us to think that the aliens are here to do us no harm, because they are not going to do us any harm. The dark government, they want to scare us. So if you hear it, if you see any kind of rivets on it, if you see any kind of welds or any kind of seams, it's not from another galaxy or universe. That's man-made. So, and Becky put in the chat that Dr. Greer has documentation on it. And I believe that. I don't put anything past our government.
No.
Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention was yesterday. Okay, and I'm going to have to switch screens, so I won't be able to see anything, Michelle. So if it all goes crazy, let me know.
All right.
So yesterday there was an article posted that says only one kind of alien could make it to Earth. This guy that wrote this, Professor Avi Lieb, I believe, is an astrophysicist and professor at Harvard, which say no more. His contention is that it would take 1 billion years to cross from one side of the Milky Way to the other. And there's a very slight chance that multiple alien species could truly make the trip to our world due to the harsh conditions surrounding them. Now, I'm just going to say that I think this guy's a little arrogant. First of all, he has no idea. He's a
scientist.
He has no idea. These light beings or aliens or whatever you want to call them are so far advanced from us, it's not going to take them 1 billion years. They can literally be here and then be there. So I think he's a little arrogant myself. What else did he say here? Yep, that's all I wanted to say about him. I just thought he was arrogant, and I thought, you've got a lot of nerve presuming to know what the aliens are up to. Exactly, Bev. Exactly. He has no idea. He has no idea. We have no experts in alien technology here on Earth.
We have no published experts, because they have some of the technology.
Yes.
But they're probably still, I'm just speculating, and it's Michelle thinks, but that's about it. But, we make leaps and bounds changes in our technology. As much as I'd love to think somebody's brilliant enough to come up with that on their own, but
they're not.
The idea came from somewhere.
They're trying. We are trying to reverse engineer
Yes.
what we have got our hands on. That's what we're trying to do, and we're not we're not nearly there. Not nearly there. I think there are things that I think I think that our government has more technology than we think they do,
Oh yeah.
but we're not nearly to the point where these other advanced species are. We're just not there. We're just not there. So, all right. Coming up in June, the only thing we've got coming up in June is the Haunted America Conference at the end of June. We are not doing any hunting in June. We've got kind of a light schedule this year. That's just the way it kind of happened. The other thing, and I do want to throw this up. All right, I'm going to throw this up. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you all about or mention this evening, you might have seen on the Facebook page, those of you that follow us on Facebook, that I had some technical difficulties, and I could not access the page. The reason for that is because I was put in Facebook jail.
Shame on you.
Yes. And I was put in Facebook jail because I had the nerve to put a post up about honoring my Southern ancestors. I can't say the C word, right? Because the C word will get you banned from YouTube and Facebook. So I can't say it. Anyway.
Oh, good Lord.
Yep. I put up a post about honoring my Southern ancestors. And I'm here to tell you, folks, I got Northern ancestors too. My family fought on both sides. They fought with each other. They still do.
They still do.
They still do. So yeah, I had them on both sides. But apparently that offended someone. And so they put me in Facebook jail. I have now been bailed out. However, I don't know how long I'm on parole for. And I never know when I might get locked out again. I am not a fan of censorship at all. So Michelle and I kind of talked about it. It's a hard decision to make, but to all of my Facebook followers out there and everyone, if I get booted again, if I get put in jail again, I'm shutting down the whole Facebook operation because I do not want to do business with a group that censors free speech. So what you see on the screen right now is our website. I own that and I can put whatever I want on that, right? There's no censorship. Oops. Threw my microphone across the room.
Settle down.
There's no censorship to the website because I own it and I can put on there whatever I want. So if you ever see another post, because Michelle's the one that posted out there that I was having technical difficulties.
Yeah, because I had no issues. I obeyed the rules.
She can get to the page. I couldn't. So if it happens again, she'll go back out there and she'll post something else that says just, find us on the website. The website will always tell you how you can reach us via social media because we're also on MeWe, we're also on Rumble, we're on Twitter. So if I get the heave-ho again, that's just how we're going to handle it.
Well, I will check with my son to find out how often or probation, because he's been in jail so many times, he should probably have a T-shirt for it.
Well, and Bev says she's been in jail twice.
Oh, well, see? There you go.
But it's not, it's the principal, guys.
No, we understand.
Yeah, it's the principal. I'm not going to have somebody tell me that I can't say that I'm proud of my ancestors. That's not going to fly. That is absolutely not going to fly. So, if I get booted again, y'all know how to find me. JustSayBoo.com. And I think that's all I really had to say. Michelle, do you
I think you made it through your agenda.
Did I make it through my notes?
I think so.
Okay. All right, folks. Well, another Show Me Mysteries has come and gone. We appreciate you hanging with us on a Wednesday night.
Real quick, if
I'm
you guys
hoping
have any thoughts or anything you'd like us to check out or talk about, drop us a note. Doesn't have to be Facebook, can be any of the other platforms. Which did you put them out there?
I didn't. I just stated them.
There we go. Just let us know, and we'll start doing some searching and checking into it and see what we can find.
No, Kayla, I didn't dye my hair. I'm sitting in the dark.
Oh, that's a whole other conversation there.
I'm sitting in the dark. I'm sitting in the dark because we go through this all the time. I get my lighting right and it looks great. And then I don't know, the dog knocks up against it or something happens, or 3 days go by and I have to move the lighting out of the way and then I can't get it up again. So no, there's just no light on me. So, but yeah. So now, not black, not black. Um, I'll tell you what I'm thinking about for next month. Let me know what y'all think. I'm thinking next month that we might do a fact or faked kind of a thing, because some things have been surfacing, some pictures, some videos, some things like that about haunted things, and yeah, I think it might be interesting to get your all's take on some of it. So, but anyway, that's all we've got. Michelle and I, we're just going to say peace and love to y'all.